Hey everyone, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far, and thank you so much for being here and joining me for yet another art video. I'm super excited because in today's video I'm going to be sharing my response or my piece that I created in response to Dena Tollefson's Turquoise Challenge. If you don't know who Dena is yet, I highly recommend you check out her channel. I'm going to leave a link to it down below in the description box. She's an amazing artist here on YouTube that is sharing a ton of very helpful information for aspiring artists. She's incredibly generous with the information that she provides. She's so kind and her voice is so soothing, and she just has a very unique painting style that I really enjoy watching. I'm also going to be leaving a link to a video that was a response to a previous challenge, and that one was the Green Gold Challenge, also created by Dena herself, in case you want to go and check it out. I had tons of fun painting that one as well, and I really love participating in art challenges like this one that are left so open. You're basically able to use whatever medium you want, you're able to draw or paint whatever subject you want, and really have fun and get creative. Challenging ourselves as artists, I feel, is so essential in order to improve. And though I am constantly pushing the bar on myself to improve my skills, it is certainly very cool to be able to participate in these kinds of challenges with other artists from time to time. Alright you guys, so before talking about this piece a little bit more, I just want to send out a huge welcome to all you new people just visiting my channel for the very first time. Welcome! I am super happy you found me, and do consider subscribing because every single Friday I share art tips, drawing and painting tutorials, and encouragement type content for aspiring artists. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Erica and I'm a traditional media artist using watercolor, acrylics, and oils. My day-to-day life revolves around creating original artwork, creating helpful content for aspiring artists that I share via my blog and this YouTube channel. I teach classes and workshops both locally and online to people all over the world, and I also have a membership site over on Patreon for which I create exclusive content. Alright, so after having shared all that, I would love to talk about this piece for a few minutes before leaving you with the rest of the time lapse and some nice music to accompany that. So the only rule for this challenge was to use turquoise, any shade of turquoise that we would like, and we were able to bring in other colors as well, as long as turquoise was heavily used, so to speak, in the piece. And I had no problem with that because turquoise and blues are certainly colors that I really love. So Dena shared the invitation and the information for this challenge a few weeks ago, so fortunately I did have plenty of time to think my ideas over in my head for this. And the idea of painting a sea turtle came up because a few months back I created the series of fish paintings for a lady, and I used the turquoise pan from my Winsor Cotman set a lot for those. Not to mention, I had never painted a sea turtle before, and I think they are beautiful and very interesting creatures, and I thought it would be a fantastic way of challenging myself. I believe the kind of sea turtle that I am painting right now is the green sea turtle. I am not 100% sure though. If you know, I would love to know in the comment section. Many times when I'm painting something new, especially when it comes to animals, I like reading up about them a little bit, and this really helps me get inspired and helps me come up with ideas for my paintings that I would have otherwise not thought of. I knew that some kinds of turtles were endangered, and from what I read over at seaturtles.org, 6 out of the 7 species of sea turtles are considered to be threatened or endangered. From what I read at worldwildlife.org, they are endangered because turtles are killed for their eggs, their meat, their skin, and their shells. And of course, their habitats are also being destroyed due to climate change. Another interesting fact that I had no idea about is that sea turtles eat jellyfish. Jellyfish are nutritious and they are delicious for sea turtles, and they cannot harm them because their scales protect them from their poison. The sad thing is that many times sea turtles mistake jellyfish for plastic bags that are floating around in the ocean, and many times they die because they eat the plastic bags. Sea turtles have lived on Earth for over 100 million years. They even survived the extinction of the dinosaurs. It's really so sad when this kind of thing happens, and I'm definitely going to make a donation. I haven't decided which organization I'm donating to this time, but just for you to know, you can make a donation to help save baby sea turtles over at seaturtles.org. You can symbolically adopt a sea turtle over at defenders.org, or buy an awesome sea turtle plushie that is going to help support the teams that are working so hard on protecting them over at worldwildlife.org. And there are many other super hardworking organizations that are helping protect these turtles, as well as many other endangered species that I'm sure you can go and learn about. I'm going to leave links to all of the organizations that I previously mentioned here down below in the description box in case you want to go and check them out. And I am in no way partnered up or affiliated with any of them in any shape, way, or form. I just really love animals and I'm very passionate about this kind of thing. Okay, so very briefly, I'm going to get into a few of the technicalities in regards to the painting process. First and foremost, I transferred my preliminary sketch onto my watercolor paper using a piece of tracing paper. And I always make sure that these preliminary sketches are created using nothing softer than an HB pencil because I don't want my pencil lines to show through my painting. And I don't want the graphite to smudge throughout the painting process. And then I had a very close look at my reference picture to decide on the specific colors that I was going to be using. I used a total of 8 different colors for this one. I used lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, burnt sienna, burnt umber, phthalo blue, viridian green, and of course, turquoise. There are many different shades of turquoise. Some lean more towards the blue side and others lean more towards the green side. This shade from Winsor & Newton definitely leans more towards the blue side. And I knew since the beginning that I wanted to create a sort of vignette looking background, which I explained in my last video how a vignette is basically instead of painting all the way towards the edges of your painting, you kind of create a very irregular, organic shape using wet-on-wet techniques that kind of dissipate into the whiteness of the paper. I'm very much into the vignette-like look right now. I love how it looks like intentionally unfinished, and it adds to the glow of the watercolor medium. So in terms of my general watercolor painting technique, I work from very light and translucent values and work my way towards darker, more saturated values. And of course, I took time to notice since before starting my painting process where my highlights or lightest areas would be so that I can make sure to keep them protected throughout the painting process. I like having the different textures that I am able to perceive in my reference picture in mind as I am laying down my paint, because this really informs the way that I use my paintbrush, whether I'm using tiny scribbling motions, more kind of linear motions, filling in tiny sections completely, or doing tiny taps. The underneath section of the turtle shell appeared to be very mottled, and I could even see some like near black spots in my reference picture. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't make it look too dirty or too dark. I did lots of lifting in this area to give that sort of textured mottled effect. And this basically meant that I went back into certain areas with a clean and slightly dampened paintbrush and did very, very gentle scribbling motions, making sure not to overwork my paper or damage it in any way, and then lifted some pigment off of my paper using my absorbent towel. And this is a technique that I find myself using at least a bit in every single one of my paintings because it's so useful to correct tiny mistakes. And in certain cases, it also allows us to pull up some of the highlights which we have covered by accident and give things that look a little bit too flat more dimension. Of course, the degree to which you're able to lift color off from your watercolor paper is really going to depend on the specific pigment that you're using, on the quality of the paint that you're using, and even your paper. It's important to know that different pigments react differently and have different characteristics even within the same paint set from the same brand. This is something that I had absolutely no idea about when I was first getting started with watercolor, and I created a swatching video a while back in which I explain a lot of important watercolor terminology that I feel is important to know about as someone just starting out, and some key things to have in mind, and I also explain my own watercolor swatching process. So I'm going to make sure to leave a link to that video down below in the description box for you in case you're interested in checking it out. I could also see that lots of these parts underneath the turtle shell, as well as in the fins and even in his neck, had this sort of greenish tinge to it, and that is where the Viridian Green came in. As I usually do, I jump back and forth between each section, allowing certain areas to dry completely before moving back in and attempting to add more texture to them or darkening values. Generally speaking, in my beginning layers, I am kind of laying out my mapping of my different values. For me, it's very important to first kind of focus on developing values, darks, midtones, and lights. And the textures are created in layers. You're going to see how almost at the end of the painting process, I add a lot more texture to the shell using a very dry paint mixture, meaning the paint mixture is very saturated with pigment and has a very small amount of water in it. And I go back in with my flat brush to create that illusion of lines. But I usually like saving those more obvious textures until the end after everything has dried completely. And I also like having in mind that it's not necessary to overdo it with the texture because the human eye and the human brain are very smart and they can kind of put two and two together. The background vignette-like effect was mostly created using wet on wet techniques. But you're also going to see me later on use a bit of pulling once I start to lay down the phthalo blue on top of the turquoise to intensify it and deepen it. All of the links to the different watercolor painting supplies that I used today will be left down below for you in the description box in case you're interested in checking them out. Alright you guys, I'm going to leave you now to enjoy the rest of this time lapse. Alright, you guys, that is it for today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and that you learned something new or got inspired to try out something for yourself. I'm gonna leave a couple of other awesome watercolor videos right here for you so that you can go and check them out. If you like this video, please, please, please give it a thumbs up because it really helps my channel get in front of more people. Thank you guys so incredibly much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe so that I can see you next Friday and talk to you soon.